other grown men. It's just
We're live, y'all. We are live, and I'm not going to try to be funny tonight. Last time I tried to get funny, I was going to make fun of a bunch who were being mean, and I made a joke and made the wrong organization because I was too busy on trying to be funny. So I can't be funny tonight. I'm not going to be funny. That's just the way of it. This is the Nilvah Nexus. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll be here for the entire duration. That's a fact. We are in Bamidbar. We're starting a new parsha. We're starting a new book. It's also Shavuos, which is a celebration of the giving of the Torah. Like Sinai receiving Torah. And during this time, we read Ruth. So I've got Ruth bookmarked back here. I don't have a study Bible on Ruth. I have a couple of good translations. Also, I'm not exactly familiar with what we're doing tonight. Other people, see, I'm the last person you should learn anything about anytime. I'm not that's why, you put brainy, good people with you, and it helps you get smarter. You're not nearly as dumb as when you started, which is why I have hangouts and I don't talk on myself. So we've got great people here that probably know a heck of a lot more about this than I do. It's our first time looking at this in the 3 years or whatever we've been on YouTube. So here we go. How's everybody doing tonight? How are we? Hermine's with us.
At least you got the name of the hangout right this time. It's Nilvah Nexus, not. No, not sorry. I don't want.
I'm doing well. I've never had I've never met Hermine before. This is my first time.
She's awesome.
Pleasure.
All right.
I'm the one who asks a lot of questions, so.
Oh, the best kind of people.
She's our modern day Ruth.
Oh.
She goes back to the day when we were the Noah's Nest. That's like years ago.
Oh, that is. You're right. Noahide Nexus, and yeah.
The Noahide Nexus. I think it was like the last person on the internet to still use the word Noahide with a C. Yeah, it's good to see Hermine back here. She's old school. Of course, Bob and Ross and Rosalie and me. Okay. The great thing about this week's Parsha, and I think the book of Bamidbar Numbers, for you out there following along at home, is it's like Torah till now. Okay, we've gotten the creation of the universe, the bringing forth of life, the creation of man's soul. We've seen the best survive. We've seen the best thrive. Even under the worst conditions, we've become an independent nation under God. And in the last, we get a good look at the Mishkan. We have a good look at the priests and what they're doing in the Mishkan. We get a good example of what the Mishkan is and why it needs to be the way it is. And we've seen this in great detail. And not just in the pictures, which are nice, great detail. And now we're kind of backing out of the Mishkan on a wider, I'm going Hollywood here, and we're seeing the arrangement of, I don't say arrangement, maybe that's not the right word, but the arrangement of the actual nation as to where they stand in relation to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle, to the basically the traveling temple. And that's what we're getting when we look at the Torah portion, particularly today. But we get this, how many people exist in a tribe at this point? How many were in? How many legions is what they count by? How they travel. We learned this. We learned that north is always east in Torah. The compass in Torah always points to the rising sun, and why it's open and everybody's the way it's arranged, and it's neat. That we've, and it's just interesting that once we started on this, once Moses ascends at Mishpatim, Sinai, it starts with the Mishkan. It starts with the tabernacle and the detail of it, and some social stuff, and then Levites, we get what it means to be a priest, and then or priestly nation, then what it means to be a priest. We get in detail this, you know, and today we get, why do we have Levites? Well, we get that today. That's actually in tonight's portion. So it's just, that's where we're going, Torah till now. So
I gotta be honest, I'm glad I skipped the building of the tabernacle this year. Boy,
well, we don't read it, so, you know, and if you want to see it read, as it's read when we talk about it, go to the Noah's Nest, which is on the Idol Smasher YouTube page, and the Noahide Nexus playlists, and you'll see. I think we did more reading in the Noahide Nexus, but like dry reading. But yeah, I can, and so talk about it now. And once you've read it a few times, and Ruth, we were talking about Ruth before we went live. Actually, before we saw Lee's shrunken face. You're beautiful, Lee. Don't get me wrong. You're beautiful. We were talking about Ruth and who she was. We could read Ruth if you like. It's a rather short book. You know, I've gotten flack for saying this. I never got flack before, and maybe I shouldn't have said it. I don't know. But I always loved what Ruth says. Your people are your people are my, your God is my God. Your people are my people. I'm paraphrasing. I think that's close to it anyway. You know, that's just kind of how I felt a while back. You know, one of the reasons why I came back and started doing this hangout, for instance, was, you know, I felt that, and I was told that only a convert could say something like that, and I defy that, because that's kind of what the way I feel. You know, I'm an American, yes, but my eyes raised to Israel. Yeah, non-Jew, but I know who my God is, and I know who his people are. I just happen to really like Torah study too.
So what would be, so James, pretty easy. I'm going to throw you a fastball down the middle of the plate. So what's the connection to the giving of Torah, the holiday, Shavuot, and why we read the book of Ruth?
Yeah, that strike. Yeah. Just gonna, I don't know. I could venture a guess, but,
what do the Jewish people do at Sinai?
meet God.
What?
In a way. Well, they hear God speak.
Well, they become Jews, and they accept the Torah. And what does Ruth do? The whole story of Ruth.
God, your people are my people.
She follows Naomi.
But it's a little bit more than that, though. It has to deal with Gerim, though. On Shavuot, on the giving of Torah, God made the Jewish people like Gerim. They made them like converts. They had to do the process over again that day. Recircumcise if they had or bring a sacrifice. All the procedures that it was done, and Ruth did the same thing. Ruth did it all over again. Anyway, that's one thing. What else? What else can we find? Anything else?
No.
Here's a question that I have, if I may.
If you please.
Ruth did say, your people are my people, your God is my God. Where you go, I will go, and, you know, whether you live or whether you die, I'm with you. Now, if that's a convert, if that's actually a convert, and she went back into the land with Naomi and lived with Naomi for a while, She was also out gathering the corners of the fields that had not been gleaned, which are left for the non-residents. Why would she be gleaning these leftovers? She was a full convert.
Convert when she married. Did she have to? Because I was told that, you know, it was a I always thought that when she married, she became Jew. When she married Boaz, that made her Jewish, or that? No, I don't.
I wouldn't doubt that, but my point is, at what point could you consider a convert? If she was gleaning the leftovers and bringing them back to Naomi, then if she's gleaning the corners, those are for non-residents, non-Jews.
They're also
Okay,
for the
not
widow
that I
and
would-
the orphans.
Not that I would ever want to, you know, try to tempt God but wouldn't that be? I hate to say it like this, but that sounds like I like marital laws. I thought a Jewish man wasn't allowed to marry outside of the stock of Jacob.
What?
So kind of like the serpent on a pole, which was an image that we were forbidden to make, and yet God said, "Do it." Is this
Wait, the Jewish men were forbidden to do what?
marry non-Jewish women?
Wait, no.
They had a different law at that time regarding marriage. It was looser. I mean, today we have a stricter law. It was instituted at the time of Ezra
Okay.
and the Great Assembly. Preparing for the exile, they made it much more difficult for marriage. Before that, it was just the 7 tribes of Canaan that was prohibited, and you know, then some other strictness here and there. And then they extended it out. Now, what happened was they had like a mini conversion that women would go through. Now, there's no cases that I'm aware of men going through this mini conversion and being able to marry a Jewess, but it would be a Gentile woman would go through this mini conversion, and she would be able to get married. Now, that was Ruth's first marriage, was that mini conversion. But then when she was divorced, when she became widowed, the opportunity was there for her to go away. Her choice to go with Naomi was more of a fuller conversion at that point. Also, the whole thing about the stocks, you know, about gleaming and all that. Yeah. The foreigner can do that, but also other groups of people can do that. I forget what exactly the rules are, but there's a whole list of people that can do that.
Well, technically, yes, because she was a widow.
Okay.
Yeah, the poor, the widow, the orphan, and the stranger.
Like the most righteous care we could think of. I mean, when you think about it. I mean, to be the mother of, or grandmother, if you will, of David, of the king, and she would come from an idolatrous nation, was a priestess even, you know, what a contrast. That's yin to yang right there. And he was a judge. He wasn't just a Jewish guy. He was a judge. He was an important fellow. Pam, shalom.
Hi, Pam.
Hello,
I can see
Pam.
Damn!
you. Yay, glad you made it.
Ruth was the ultimate. Like Katz was talking about how there will never be another like her. It can't happen. It's already happened. It had to happen like that. You can't. There'll never be another Ruth. Is what he was saying, ever. That just doesn't happen. Anybody have insights they want to share on Ruth?
Well, the Gutnick says that she was a princess and not a priestess.
Oh.
She was royalty. She was royalty.
Oh. You want to read Ruth? Okay, then. They were taunting the Ger too. Boaz begot Obed, Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David. Great grandmother, I guess. Well, all right. Let's talk about the holiday. I know nothing about it. I can't say I know nothing about it. I don't know what it entails. John, you're there.
Boy.
Let's just say I'm fresh off the boat. What is Shavuos?
It would be the marriage of the Jewish people, pretty much in a nutshell. Is there something in particular that you want to know? The customs? I mean,
yeah. What is it that we
Well, usually the people study Torah all night. There's one custom, and then the following day, you usually have, like most people have like an ice cream party. That's what we're going to do at my temple. We're going to have an ice cream party. And the reason why ice cream is because dairy was the only laws of kashrut that wasn't strict yet. I don't know what's the word? How do you want to put it? It wasn't like finalized laws of.
It wasn't enforced.
Yeah,
Kosher wasn't enforced, but when they found out it was, then they went to dairy.
Right. However you want to put it.
Did that have something to do with all the meat being slaughtered improperly or something? I forget. Or am I mixing up with something else?
No, you're right. No, you're right.
I think it has something to do with that. Yeah. I don't.
That's when they opened up the first Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, right on. Right on.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's not like it's a major holiday. I think you can. I mean, it's like any other holiday. I mean, I don't think you have to. I think you can drive. I think you can. I don't think it's like a Shabbos, is it? I'm not sure. But yeah, it's you study Torah all night. That's usually the custom. People study Torah all night and then dairy party.
Yeah, the Shavuot is like a full holiday.
It is a full holiday. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means no driving. No driving.
Well, for the Jews, yeah. I mean, I always drive to shul, but I try to be polite, not play loud music as I'm coming in the parking lot.
It's good.
Yeah, turn them woofers and tweeters down, dude.
Is it commanded that God remember that day, that it be a remembrance? Like, did He command it like Passover and Shabbat?
Yeah, it's
Passover.
exactly written out in Torah because you got to count the days. The Torah says you got to count the days and the weeks.
That's right.
Since you leave, so it's like 7 times 7. There's a dispute whether you should count the days or you should count the weeks. So there's like an argument: what is one biblical, one's rabbinical, one's how does it all work? So you count both, just to double, cross the T's, dot your I's, do both, and then that's it. You get to 49, and then God takes you over to 50. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen.
One of the three pilgrim festivals.
What fest? It's a what festival?
One of the three pilgrim festivals.
It sounds like you're being mugged and thrown in the back of the car.
She's asking if it's one of the three festivals that people come to Jerusalem for. I was actually trying to remember. I don't remember.
That's a good question. Good question.
That is a good question.
Is it one of the holidays?
Okay, where is it in Torah? Let's look it up.
That's a good idea. Gosh. Is Micha Mamre? Oh, that's for Ruth. Well,
I told you. Oh shit! You're gonna make me look this up. It was 848, I think, or something. It's in Deuteronomy. I know that. It's the giving of the Torah, day 1. So I looked it up. You're looking at Ruth. 646. 464. Sorry. I promise it's 464. That's the first day that you read.
464. How many days are there?
2. I think there's 3 readings in 2 days.
Okay, so the 3 major holidays would be Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. So they're all together.
Okay.
One right after the other.
I do remember that in Israel they do 1 day, in outside of Israel they do 2 days, and
Right, it's customary.
if somebody is, and if somebody's from Israel comes out, like we'll get people that visit family, and they only have 1 day, but their family has 2 days, so they'll be driving around on the second day. And they'll be doing stuff, and they'll be like a Shabbos goy on the second day, opening doors and that kind of stuff.
There are people that go to my temple and they go, they're big mockers, and they act like that, because they own like a little piece of land and some fakakta piece of land in Israel. Oh, I own land in Israel. I don't have to abide by the second day. I can. No, if you actually live in Israel, you get the 1 day. If you're out in the diaspora, you have to do the 2 days. So that's how it works. You don't just because you own like an inch. I mean, what's? I love those people. Those are the best.
Bob, I actually ran into some Shabbos goys like 4 weeks ago, and it made me think about you. Because I think this is the term that you were using.
You ran into them?
Yeah, it was incredible. There's
like a Muslim in a truck or something? You like run
Better have insurance.
And they're describing to me what they do, and it immediately hit me because I had heard you talking about it. That this is their job. They set up tables. They prepare everything. These people are not religious at all. They have no connection to Torah. They didn't, or Judaism, but they volunteer to do this. It's pretty cool thing. It's something I learned probably on here.
I got it. I always thought I would be honored to flip a Jew's light switch for the longest time. It wasn't until recently that okay, you shouldn't tempt them into doing that if you're serious about Torah.
I was listening to the Lokutei Sikos on that today as I was mowing the grasses. I'm trying to remember. It's such a complicated thing. And so I went, as I'm mowing, I listened to the 3 classes we did here in town, and then I had a chance to re-listen to the second one, and I'm still confused. It's like all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I took the opportunity to let them know that the 7 laws exist.
Oh no, they're going to lose their job now.
Yeah. No.
Kidding.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting when you run into these things in real life. There's like no presence, Jewish or Noahide, in the small city that I live in. So to find them in a smaller town visiting was pretty cool. It's always neat when these types of things that we discuss on here actually like become real out there. It doesn't happen
Gav,
often.
welcome. Go ahead. I just welcoming Gav. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Ah.
Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm looking, Pam. And maybe Gav will know better. Gav, where is Shavuos discussed as a holiday or a remembrance in the Torah? I'm in Deuteronomy at Deuteronomy chapter 6, and I'm still kind of flailing around trying to find it.
That's the first day.
16, verse 10.
16. Well, no wonder.
Anyway, like I said, in the Gutnick, page 464, that's the first day's reading. And then you go to page 1064 and 1520, and those are for all 3 days. It's like the firstborn offerings, the first of the crops and the first of the animals and the firstborn. And sanctity of the firstborn animals.
You shall count 7 weeks for yourselves. From when the sickle is first put to the standing crop, shall you begin counting 7 weeks. Then you shall observe the festival of Shavuos for Hashem, your God. The voluntary offerings that you give should be commensurate with how much Hashem, your God, will have blessed you. You shall rejoice before Hashem, your God. You, your son, your daughter, your slave, your maidservant, the Levite who is in your cities, the proselyte, the orphan, and the widow who are among you, in the place that Hashem, your God, will choose to rest his name. You shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and you shall observe and perform these decrees. Amen.
Exodus 23, 14 through 18. Too.
Exodus, what was that one more time, the chapter?
23:14.
14?
23, 14 through 18. And if you have a Sansino, there's commentary.
I've had the Sansino out, but when I saw you here, I grabbed the stone because we've got a Gutnick, a stone, and a Sansino all in the same hangout.
Ooh, awesome. Well, if you can understand me, I don't mind sharing, but if my mic's muted, I'll shut up.
23. I'm getting there. And the verse one more time, I'm sorry.
14 through 18.
All right. 3 pilgrimage festivals shall you celebrate for me during the year. You shall observe the festival of matzahs. 7 days shall you eat matzahs, as I have commanded you, at the appointed time of the month of springtime, for in it you left Egypt. You shall not be seen before me empty-handed. In the festival of the harvest of the first fruits of your labor that you sow in the field, and the festival of the ingathering at the close of the year, when you gather in your work from the field. 3 times during the year shall all your menfolk appear before the Lord, Hashem. You shall not offer the blood of my feast offering upon leavened bread, nor may the fat of my festive offering remain overnight until morning. The choicest first fruit of your land shall you bring to the house of Hashem, your God. You shall not cook a kid in the milk of its mother. I went a little over there.
And in Leviticus 23, 15 through 21.
Work. Work. All right, 50. And what was that? What were the verses again? I should be in the side chat.
Leviticus 23, verse 15 through 21.
Okay. The Cohen shall make them as. That's not right.
Are we confused whether or not the holiday is found in the Torah, or what's going on?
She's feeding me stuff, and I'm reading.
The thing was, is we needed to look it up in Torah to see what was required. I mean, people weren't settled on what it was or exactly what we were supposed to do. So I suggested look it up in Torah.
You shall count for yourselves from the morrow of the rest day, from the day when you bring the omer of the waving. 7 weeks they shall be complete. Until tomorrow of the 7th week you shall count 50 days, and you shall offer a new meal offering to Hashem. From your dwelling places you shall bring bread that shall be waved, 2 loaves made of 2/10 ephah, or ephah. They shall be fine flour. They shall be baked leavened, first offerings to Hashem. With the bread you shall offer 7 unblemished lambs in their first year, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They shall be an elevation offering to Hashem, with their meal offering and their libations, a fire offering, satisfying aroma to Hashem. You shall make one he-goat as a sin offering, and 2 lambs in their first year as a peace offering. The Kohen shall wave them upon the first offering breads as a wave service before Hashem. Upon the 2 sheep they shall be holy for Hashem and for the Kohen. You shall convoke on this very day. There shall be a holy convocation for yourselves. You shall do no laborious work. It is an eternal decree in your dwelling places for your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not remove completely the corners of your field. Am I going too far? I think I am. I'll read anyway. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not remove completely the corners of your field as you reap, and you shall not gather the gleanings of your harvest. For the poor and the proselyte, the ger, shall you leave them. I am Hashem, your God. So in all places, the priests get fed. The widow and the ger are taken care of. Thank you, man. That is just what we needed. Just what I needed. So there you have it.
Why do you think the ger or the proselyte here is included in this? What does that say? And what would that say in the modern context? That he's included with these people and that he's allowed to take from the edge or the corner of the field? Go ahead.
I remember one, it said, remember you were slaves in Egypt. Ooh. Yeah, the ger is mentioned all 3 times. You read Ruth, who goes beyond.
They're always there. Always. All the way back to Sinai and before.
Well, the ger doesn't have any land. You know, the normal way of parnasa in the land of Israel was to have land. You know, they divided it up amongst the family, you know, the tribes and the families and all that, and that's the way the divine providence comes through. So the ger and also the disenfranchised, they didn't have land, so they were included with the gleaming, so they were allowed to benefit from that.
I just wanted to also add that the Cohen also didn't have land, and that they were given sort of a tithing. If you think about it, Ger doesn't have land and given tithing. There's a connection there, no?
Yeah. Well,
Almost as if if you're a Ger, you're just as important as a Cohen.
well, if people were to take refuge in Israel, where would they go? The cities. They'd go where the priests are, the Levite, if you will. And the Levite in your cities was mentioned too. Just really.
Go ahead.
Well, ingathering was the feast of the ingathering. That jumped at me. Did it jump at anybody else? The three feasts. One was they called it the Feast of Ingathering. And that. Go ahead, Pam.
If I remember correctly, there will be a time in the future when the nations will be required to show up or have representation for the three feasts, for the three pilgrim feasts. And those who don't show up or have representation, I forget exactly how it's worded, they will suffer, they'll be punished. I remember reading that somewhere.
Is that at the end of Zechariah?
Maybe it is. I will have to see if I can find it. Any idea exactly where?
Gav said yes, Bob. Zechariah.
So it all ties in together.
Ingathering, harvesting. I mean, eventually, when you go over time, the children of the Gerim, will become members of the tribe, and then you would have new Gerim come in. I mean, it's like the idea. Where was it that I read that? Oh, somebody posted it. I have so much stuff, so much Jew stuff I look at sometimes. Oh, where did it come from? It was that there's the way you look at it would almost be like planet Israel. One day, you have to look at it almost like a light that just will encompass the globe, and it will one day be planet Israel. That's why in Isaiah he says, when the Nokri come, they're going to come and bring offerings, and you're going to welcome them, and you're going to treat them, you're going to be joyous about it. It will be a joyous occasion, The ingathering.
That'd be Zechariah chapter 14, starting 16, I think.
Go for it.
And it will come to this. This is after the Battle of Armageddon, and everyone has their everyone gets destroyed. But then who's left over? Chapter 16, and it will come to pass that everyone left of the nations who come up against Jerusalem will go up from year to year to prostrate himself to the King, the Lord of hosts, and to celebrate the festival of tabernacles. And it shall be that whoever of all the families of the earth, whoever of all the families of the earth does not go up to Jerusalem to prostrate himself to the King, the Lord of hosts, upon them there shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt does not go up and does not come, it shall not upon them. It shall not rain upon them. The plague upon Egypt will be the same that with which the Lord will plague the nations who do not go up to celebrate the festival of tabernacles. Such will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, so it's basically all the nations every year will be required to come to Jerusalem for the Festival of Tabernacles, and whoever doesn't will be smitten.
Thank you, Bob.
What's rain in that context? Would be blessings, right?
Rain on your fields is what I thought. Rain on your crops. You will
No,
not.
it'd be blessings. God's not going to give the blessings.
Substance. Yeah, substance. So people that don't, they won't receive substance. The Feast of Tabernacles is associated with the blessing for rain.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, if it rains on the holiday, it's supposed to be like a good sign.
Well, actually, they usually want it to rain after the Festival of Tabernacles, because otherwise you get rained on when you're trying to sit in the sukkah. But yeah, it's it's associated with it though. Yeah.
I have a commentary here. If I could read it, it's just like a paragraph. It's from the Sansino Press, the 12 Prophets. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It talks about this rain. It says it's referred to in the Bible as the feast par excellence. 1 Kings, 8, verse 2, was preeminently an occasion for thanksgiving for harvest and vintage. It was universal in character. During temple time, sacrifices were brought on this festival on behalf of the nations of the world, and prayers were offered for rain. In accordance with the rabbinic tradition that the world is judged for rain at this season, it was therefore a festival in which the nations might well join together in grateful thanksgiving to God for his bounty. The Jewish commentators consider that the victory spoken of in this chapter will be won on the Festival of Tabernacles, and consequently it will be celebrated by all the nations in commemoration of the glorious triumph. The refusal to celebrate the festival would argue an ingratitude, which could not be more appropriately punished than withholding rain.
Ouch. Let's get on it. That's true. The tabernacle is when you're expecting the stranger, right?
During tabernacles was when they did the sacrifices on behalf of the nations. Every day they slaughtered so many, and every day I forget it decreased in number. I think it was from 13 the first day, and then 12, 11, 10, and it went on down until there was just one left, if I remember correctly. But it numbered 70, a total of 70 for the 70 nations. The last one might have been 7, Larry said. But I remember Rabbi Schwartz did a teaching on that one year for Sukkot. That was back in 2008. I do not know where that paper is. It's been lost in another world. But it was a fascinating study where he explained that during Sukkot, Israel did sacrifices on behalf of all 70 nations of the world.
One day the nations are going to bring their own. So there's a great significance coming up. That's wow. Huh. I'd always thought that was Yom Kippur. When they make offerings on behalf of the nations.
When it comes around to Sukkot, read through the scripture where it explains how Sukkot is to be celebrated. God specifically details it. It's fascinating.
You built a sukkah. I know Bob's built a sukkah. I've yet to build a sukkah. That sounds kind of fun.
It is very.
That was the worst sukkah ever. The one that I built.
But it was a sukkah.
We used to build a sukkah every year, communally. We used to get together and go to the lake. And a bunch of us would meet and do Sukkot together. It was fun.
Yeah, Sukkot's your favorite holiday, eh?
What's a sukkah?
The tabernacle.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am.
Temporary dwelling that's built to God's specifications. And it is very temporary. And if it rains, don't eat soup. Because you're going to get rain in it.
It's you can't seal off the roof. It has to be let natural light in. The sides of the booth itself is in the shape of, I think, 3 different Hebrew letters. The way it's arranged, the way it's those would be the walls, and you decorate it. And my thing on Sukkot has always been to watch Ushpizin. It's a really great movie. If you haven't seen it, get it. Oh yes, baby boy, for Rabbi Gavriel Kostanov. Congratulations, Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
How do you choose names? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to be naming him for a while. We don't name premature children right away. The reasons behind that are kind of complicated, but once he's healthy enough that we can do that, we choose a name based in the Ashkenazi tradition, which, the European Jewish tradition. You name them after usually a relative that's passed away.
Cool. Do you have any? I was going to say, what are the leading contenders? But that's all right.
I have several, but you're not supposed to say until the baby's been named.
Oh, okay. Great.
So we're going to start a pool here at the Nexus. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We'll have a pool. I don't know any of your relatives, but I'll just think Russian Jews, and I'll have his whole big name, and we'll have fun.
There's about 4 or 5 names we're kind of running with right now, but we'll narrow it down in about 4 weeks.
Cool.
Do you get closer to the due date in order to do that?
So he was born about a month early.
Yeah. So you would get closer to the original due date.
Yeah, you would wait. You would wait until the baby is healthy enough that you can perform bris milah, the circumcision, or whatever. He's not there. He's not going to be there for a while yet. He's doing very well, but he's not strong enough to do that.
Right.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited. We were not expecting it this soon, but my wife woke me up the other night, shook me awake, and said, "I think something's wrong." I was like, "Okay, here we go." So I went to the hospital within an hour. They had an emergency C-section. He was out and fine.
Yay.
Oh. Get a soft spot for babies. It's a trick. Makes you want more. It's a trick. It's a dirty trick.
There will be more, just not right away.
Yes. And the wife is doing okay. She's healing well.
She's sore. She's very sore.
Yeah, I bet.
There's not much she can. So I have to lift everything, and that's okay because I kind of did anyway.
Nothing heavier than the baby.
Right. And then the baby weighs nothing. So.
Exactly. I had 3 C-sections. I understand that well.
It's okay. She's actually really entertaining right now because they have her on really strong pain meds. So she's all kind of giddy and goofy. So.
That's awesome. We never did answer a question that was brought up. It was going to go around. I'd like to give it another go. John brought it up. Did John leave? John left.
I
Okay.
think he got knocked out.
What does Shavuos and Ruth have in common? And Bob brought something up, but I don't know. What say you guys? What do they have in common? Why Ruth on?
Because it's the commemoration of when we accepted the Torah, and as an individual person, she accepted it upon herself. That's why we read the book of Ruth for Shavuot.
When you say it like that, it is a softball question.
Just as a side note, I read somewhere, and I'm trying to find it again, probably won't happen tonight. Somewhere I heard that it's also the anniversary of the day that Noah came off the ark, or that God made the covenant with Noah. Anybody else heard that?
I didn't hear what you said. It's the anniversary of what?
Of the day that God made a covenant with Noah.
Oh.
That makes sense. I haven't heard that. It makes sense, but I don't know. The Sinai event for me is all encompassing everything. It's like it's the pivotal moment that happens really throughout the Torah. I feel it there. It's like the fulcrum of everything.
All right, so I have a stupid question. How many days are in the Hebrew calendar in a year?
Depends on the year.
All of them.
Okay, so let's just say it depends on the year. How would you know it's the anniversary of if there's variation?
Well, it would be the anniversary on according to the Hebrew calendar.
No, because it's different.
Well, it would fall on the same day on the Hebrew calendar every year. It would not fall on the same day on the Gregorian calendar every year, because the Hebrew calendar is a lunar calendar that's been adjusted and fixed according to a solar year.
It's been what they call intercalated, if I'm pronouncing that right. And Abraham did it.
Yeah.
Because it was something that was passed down, and they knew how to do it. And they called it, I think it was intercalation. Is that correct?
Oh, okay. So like if there's 4 days left in one year, they would know what that meant in the next. Like what that synced up to.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Well, there's never 4 days left in a year. There's either 12 lunar months or there's 13 lunar months. I think it's 4 times of 12 and 3 times of 13 or something to that effect. And it kind of goes back and forth to keep the seasons in the correct spot.
Well, I mean, you can add an extra day to Mar Cheshvan. You can remove a day from Kislev. And according to that, and depending on whether or not it's a leap year, the Hebrew calendar year can have 353 days, 354 days, 355, or with a leap year, even as many as 383, 384, 385. It depends on quite a few different things.
Wow. But it's perfect. It always works.
It's very precise, yes.
That's why I thank Hashem for Google. Much easier to go by. Hey, what's the day today?
And Wikipedia.
Yes. Yeah, softball question. I'm just unfamiliar with like the dairy meal. I learned that tonight. You do dairy the day or the day after. You stay up all night and read Torah, and then like ice cream, like an ice cream party. John was saying he was having it there.
That's the common practice, yes.
Yeah. This is my
So
first time exploring the information, so I'm kind of first time in it here on a lot of stuff. Go ahead, Hermine, please.
What did you do today, Gav?
Today?
For the
It's not the holiday yet.
Not yet.
oh
Tuesday.
oh, never mind. What will you do?
I'll probably be in the hospital. So
Today's Rosh Kodesh, right?
Rosh Chodesh. In a couple, yeah, it should be a day or so. No, it could be today. I'm not entirely sure. I've been last couple of days.
You've been busy, right?
Yeah. Yes. I haven't showered in 2 days. Should probably do that.
Ooh. We didn't want to say anything.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Almost had a kid in the shot. She wasn't too fond. This little girl of mine, this little 2-year-old, loves going through Daddy's books.
Gosh,
Loves looking at the Chumash.
My 3-year-old granddaughter does too.
Really?
Yes.
So, Parsha talk. What do you say? Or is there a question? Someone, come here.
I just wanted to mention I'm kind of cheating here. I'm looking in a book. Besides the self-sacrifice of Ruth and attaching herself to Israel and the acceptance of Torah, third connection with Ruth and Shavuos is that Shavuos is called the festival of the harvest, and Ruth entered the land at the beginning of the barley harvest. So she was connected with the harvest season. So there's a connection between Ruth and the season also.
She was gleaning.
I went to Wikipedia out of curiosity, and it says that this must be the reference that I saw for the connection to Noah. It said in the book of Jubilees, the holiday is traced to the appearance of the first rainbow on the 15th of Sivan, the day on which God made his covenant with Noah.
Wow.
I'll give you a link in the thing. It's got quite a bit here about Shavuot, and it's got some sources, and it's got some that are probably a little questionable, but it's still interesting, I think.
The one covenant for mankind.
Well, the reason I guess that just really struck a thing with me because, and that thing I posted earlier in the study group, the Karaite song for Shavuot,
Yes.
they specifically mention the law of 2 days, and when you look at the commentary, they explain in the commentary that the law of 2 days is referring to the 2,000 years the Torah existed before Sinai.
Ooh.
Fascinating to me. I know. You get it, right? I'm like, oh.
Ooh. Planet Israel. The one law for mankind.
Exactly.
And we need a nation to keep that law pure. God loves you. It's nice to know, isn't it? It's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to be reminded of. Take it from me. It's a good thing to be reminded. Noah came out of idolatry, quite literally. Ruth came out of idolatry and married a judge. They don't make them like that no more.
You said idolatry, but all I heard was adultery, and I was like,
Same thing.
yeah.
And the Egyptians who came with, with Israel herself, literally came from idolatry to hear the voice of God.
I don't remember this part. The Egyptians that came with, were they like one of the 12 tribes? Were they a 13th tribe? Like, what happened when the seas parted there?
The Arab Ra, the mixed multitude.
Yes.
A lot of people that that's how they're referred to. At Sinai, the Jewish, and God will prove it, and He does prove it when they decide to try not to be Jewish. They became Jewish. Everybody became, if you will. That's a bad, but I shouldn't say Jewish. It's really bad.
Thank you. They became Israel.
It became the marriage. Everybody was involved. Everybody got everything. Then anybody else.
The ones that didn't die anyway.
Yeah. And so
there's a lot of stories about what happened. Who the Arab Rob were and what happens with them, and I don't think there's anything really definitive about them. There's many different stories.
We can assume Egyptian.
Well, they're mixed. They're a mixed multitude. So whether they're Egyptian or what they were, they're also related to the the 202 sparks of holiness that came out of Egypt. There's many different ways of looking at the story of the Arab Rav.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch that came out of Egypt that were also in slavery, and they took the opportunity to get out of it right along with Israel. So there were many that probably weren't Egyptian. There were probably some who were, but you have to remember they were coming out of slavery. And if I were a slave, I wouldn't say, "Oh well, I'm not part of them. I'm going to go with them. Just let me sneak right in their basket, and I'll go."
It's not like they didn't, see which way the wind was blowing. It was pretty. These are the winners.
It was kind of, obvious, yeah.
Come with me if you want to live.
Especially after the death of the firstborn,
Right.
That would have been like a hello moment.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice on that one. I hear you.
But even these people, these lowly people, these multicultural, this bunch still were given, an opportunity. God saved them. They came right. God could have easily, if He wanted to, I'm sure He could have found ways. No. He could have. It's God. He didn't. So, that
it might be said Moses saved them.
Yeah, doesn't God call Moses out on that? About the people, the strangers that, doesn't He kind of call Moses out on that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's coming to me now. Okay. He still could have stopped it, but okay. For Moses' sake, okay.
So wait a minute. Okay, I guess so God gives folks the Torah once let me get this straight in my head. When did He gave them the Torah at Sinai?
That was when God spoke to 3 million people. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other God. The ram's horn. You always hear the the horn that blew and the mountain shook and was on fire. God's presence descended onto it. That's the event that that Israel commemorates. I'll commemorate with them.
Right, but that's when he gets the Torah. You're saying that same exact day is when he makes the connection with Noah.
Or that the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai, what I like to call the Sinai event, is linked apparently in Jubilee. I'm not really quite familiar with the book of Jubilee, but they link it back that it's likened or whatnot to the giving of the covenant.
On the holiday, on the same day.
On the same day that
Years.
the first rainbow appeared is the same day of the year that that the Torah was given at Sinai. Welcome back, Yochanan.
Okay, so
What's going on? What's the question?
no, I was just trying to figure in my head. When God gave the covenant to Noah,
Right?
that's before he started building the boat?
No, after. Once he got off the flood and Noah made an offering, God was pleased that he gave it and said, for you and your descendants, you will be able to, you keep the laws of Adam, you may also eat flesh so long as you remove the blood.
All right. So the reason I'm having a hard time with this, I would think once the flood was done, it would be time to sow, not harvest.
Depending on your definition, it's also first fruits.
During the harvest time.
Well, there wouldn't be a harvest.
Maybe we're talking a spiritual first fruit rather than a physical first fruit.
That's why I said aligned to the calendar. This is okay. Remember, like 10 minutes ago, we were saying it's a similar calendar date to the date that this happened with Ruth, right? And this is why we celebrate this holiday this time of the year. So
Right.
I would think in my mind that both would be both times the covenant to Noah as well as to Ruth would be associated with a harvest. But when I think of stepping out from a flood, I don't see a harvest.
But you could see a first fruit. As in, Israel is my firstborn in Sinai.
Ma'am, I think you might have some wind. You may have some wind.
Okay, but what did she say? I could see a first Ruth?
Well, first fruit.
First fruits.
Oh,
They have been
okay.
they have been in the ark for a year.
Yeah, meaning that Noah and his family will be the progenitors of all the new people. So there's your sowing. Technically the harvest.
Yeah, if you look at it, they were the one taken from the field and elevated.
Was
The
someone?
rest of the field got wiped out. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Were one of the women pregnant on the ark, or become pregnant, or give birth? I can't remember. I might have heard something like this before.
That was in the movie, but I don't know of any source for it.
Oh,
It doesn't mention anything like that.
The movie on that movie is so brilliant and so stupid at the same time. That's
well,
a
I
stupid.
never. Just
No,
for the
we're
record,
not. Go ahead. Sorry.
For the record, I've never seen it. I didn't even know about it.
No, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, they were prohibited from procreation. And
Exactly, they remained separated during the time of the.
it was like the wolf. The wolf was the one who didn't, or something. Or the canine was the one who didn't keep that rule. But yeah, nobody was allowed to copulate.
Wow, I never heard that before. Is there a reason given for this?
The
Wild
reason that
animals.
they would not is because in time of distress is not a time to have children. You know, like during wartime or during time of famine and that it's just not time to have children. And so it's kind of accustomed to hold off during difficult times.
Also, they had an awesome job to do. They had needed focus, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, we learn it from the way that it's described that the people who when they went into the ark, I forget exactly how it's worded, but it's something like, Noah and his sons and his wife and his daughter-in-laws or something to that effect. So it shows that they're going in separate. When they come out, God commands them to come out, together as so it's like God's commanding them now to have children. There's something to do with the way it's worded in Genesis.
Okay. Okay.
We have to remember too, they weren't on vacation floating in a boat. There was stuff going on, and they had work to do.
Yeah.
And God needed them to stay focused on the task at hand.
Right.
The animals kind of went into a coma, not a state of coma, but almost like a state of hibernation. Instinctively, they all just kind of shut down like a bear would in the winter. Because that's a lot to take care of.
Now, do Jewish people or the faith to Torah, is it a literal flood? Okay.
Everything.
No, not that. No, not again.
Depends on who you ask.
I think it says that every living thing that breathed air died.
Numerous times.
So maybe there weren't living things on the rest of the world. If it was, if you will, local, or if it wasn't a global flood, then it killed every living thing that breathed air.
Right.
So I'm more of the opinion that yes, I think that
I'm of the opinion that it really happened globally, because they found all kinds of scientific evidence for a global flood.
well, yeah,
Unless they've changed that opinion in the last few years. That's the last I saw.
something happened. It killed off the dinosaurs. It was dramatic. It was instant. It was worldwide.
What do you mean it killed off the dinosaurs?
I think they died before the flood.
Some of the big ones anyway. We got dragons out here now. They're just the big ones died off in whatever this catastrophe was. Some say it's a comet in the Earth. Some say there's actually a rogue planet called Planet X that passes by about every 3,000 years, and when it does, all havoc breaks loose on the Earth.
Yeah, it's expected to come back around anytime soon too.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's about ready to hit.
Yeah. What a way to make prophecy happen. Isn't that awesome?
But look at the Sphinx. The head was not on that original statue. That's not the erosion from the rest of the body is not the same as the erosion on the top. So there was an Egypt prior to the one, or there was a civilization of some sort. Egypt, probably, because we know there's a few of them.
Years ago,
That existed prior to the
flood. Explained that there were several creations, but the one we're supposed to be focused on is this one. And he admitted that, anciently they've all agreed that there have been several creations. So take it or leave it, but I think it's intriguing.
Well, the earth, the first creation in the Torah, the first creation of the Torah, starts with a planet that's surrounded by water. So does Noah. There's two distinct, I know it's a little poetic, and
history repeats itself.
Brookie. Shalom, welcome.
Shalom. What are we talking about?
We are talking about the topic obviously is in the title. Shavuot is coming up, or Shavuot is coming up, and which is also traditionally we read Ruth. So we're discussing Ruth. We're discussing Shavuot, also Tabernacles or Sukkot coming up.
We're trying to figure out what happened to the dragons.
And this holiday coming up is likened or linked to, or apparently happens on the same day, according to the Book of Jubilee, which I'm not familiar with, likens it to the time of Noah, to the first rainbow, which is the covenant, the covenant for mankind. So they're kind of, there's like the same kind of narrative going on, is what we're in Genesis, we're in Numbers, because we're starting Bamidbar, we're in Ruth, we're all over the place. It's just all one big lump of ooey gooey Torah goodness.
Sounds good.
You know what's funny? I was reading about I think this like 3 weeks ago. I was reading like a kid's book, like a Jewish kid's book, for like from kids, and and it talked about the dinosaurs. Like it talked about how Adam had like a pet dinosaur. No, I'm not joking. Like it literally he had like a pet dinosaur. Like he like literally wrote on him, and like it did work for him, and like it did.
Dino, no, Dino.
And that was exactly what I was thinking of. I'm like, oh, it was like the Flintstones. But then I said to myself, they get everything from Torah, so probably something to it.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a kid's book.
No, but they were citing the kids' book, though. That's the thing, though. I mean, they were citing rabbinical sources like
Isn't the Midrash?
Jewish Midrash and other sources. If it's Midrash, then it's definitely like a fable. But they were citing sources like that. So I thought it was interesting. Maybe that, I don't know. I have to bring that one day. I have to find that book again and bring it in.
Well, the legend of dragons is actually was once an intelligent creature. That all the legends that they were always looked at as wise. Even the Torah says they were the most cunning of all creatures, created on the sixth day, upright, could openly speak with Adam and Eve.
The Torah says the dragons were that?
No, it says not, but that's also the same word they use.
Like a serpent,
or like an alligator, I think is if I'm not mistaken, it's
Well, actually, snakes used to have legs, and it's very strange. Like in most of you guys probably already know that. You can, on some species, you can still see little remnants of legs, and what's baffling is it's the only species that this has ever happened.
Oh no!
Wow, he got like raptured, like mid sentence, like just God took him. God didn't want, Lord Jesus, he didn't want to say what he wanted to say. He had to take him.
I got to say this to Gabby. Thinks I'm crazy, and I didn't get to finish. No, I'm not talking dragons in the Bible. I'm saying lizards. There were no dinosaurs. There's no such thing as a dinosaur until the 1800s. Before then, they're always referred to around the world as dragons. All kinds of different looking. Some of them had wings. The dragon, and I meant that as like a kind of creature.
Okay.
But they had that on. But it says on day 5, God made like the great sea monster, Behemoth or something, right?
Is that the Leviathan? Oh, Ross.
Leviathan, yeah, Leviathan. Isn't that like a dinosaur?
It is, but there's a whole big mystical thing to the. Welcome back, Rosalie. The feast of the Leviathan. When the world unites. Oh, I can't give the detail. I don't know. I'm not going to make a
I think it's controversial just for the time. My answer, like, to be clear, oh, welcome back, Lee. I think it's just because we live in the 21st century and, like, you know, secularists kind of make you want to be kind of honest and kind of we kind of have to follow their lead on this because, you know, or else, you know, whatever. But I think it's not. I don't think we should rule it out. I don't think that a world flood or, you know, because I mean the Torah does say the waters of the deep. No, that's not what it says. It says the fountains of the deep burst forth, and if you read the commentary of Nachmanides, he says there's well springs all around the planet that opened up, and if you go and actually look and actually do research, there are clean water springs all around the planet that jet out clean fresh water constantly, and that's where this water comes from.
But we're not debating that the flood happened. We're discussing.
Well, I'm just saying because it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Because it kind of goes into timelines, and did Adam and mankind interact with dinosaurs, or did Noah have like a pet?
I don't know. I kind of left some of that stuff that you can't really find a whole lot of proof for behind with everything else you can't find proof for, and kind of living life through Torah and what it says. And since we don't know exactly what the behemoth translates to, unless you guys know something in oral that I don't, but as far as the written Torah, it doesn't really point to that stuff.
I mean, if you take the Torah as what it says, and that Adam was 200 feet tall at the point that he sinned, so he was taller than that. Well, what we're supposed to believe legend. How tall are dinosaurs? 100 feet tall. So that means he was taller than a dinosaur. So it's not out of realm of possibility that, like, the kid's book I mentioned is not necessarily false. He could have used them as like a pet. It's not necessarily like an incorrect thing to believe. That's all I'm saying.
200 feet tall, is that oral too? Like,
well, a lot of that is symbolic. You know, they mean things in the spiritual. They mean things in the Kabbalistic sense.
But okay, but there's also it also says in that when God buried Adam and Eve, that he had to fold them several times to fit him into the cave because he was too tall to get in the cave. So that means that his bones, he had to fold his bones.
I heard he was diminished when he ate of the fruit. He diminished to 150 feet. But he was luminous and translucent as well. Prior to getting coats of skins, he was a luminous, you know, like Yoda. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You know, that there's a lot of wisdom in what he's saying, because that's man's true nature. That would be us.
well, if we're made in the image of Hashem, and he is, you know, light. Everything is light. When you come down to it, then that would make sense that Adam was luminous before.
Yeah, the coats of skin are the flesh bodies. I hear he glowed. His feet glowed.
Were we made in his image or his likeness?
Same thing. Yes.
Well, no, but
No,
I think Rashi explains the image and the likeness pretty well. The image is like a mold. It's sort of the structure, and the likeness is sort of the material. I forget exactly how Rashi explains it. Is that in Genesis chapter 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he uses both. He says image and likeness, doesn't he?
Right. You're right. It sure does.
What do you think about Adam as a representative of, like, if we take the timeline literally, let's say 57, 77 years ago, we think of Adam as like the latest, we'll say, genetic upgrade in mankind. As we know, like, everything's evolving, if you want to use that word. And now apparently, for the first time, man is subject to laws, and his conduct is being watched. He has a new standard of living, if you will, a new consciousness. What do you think of Adam just representing that thing that brought civilization together? It's just, I don't think it's a coincidence that around 6,000 years ago, we started cooperating on a larger scale than ever before. People are moving into cities. There's commerce. The farmers are feeding those cities. This is all happening for the very first time. And then there is written language. What are your thoughts on any of this?
My personal take, and this is my own little midrash, I guess, or my own little take, actually comes in the second chapter of Genesis, when it said, on the day that God made. These are the generations of heaven and earth in the day that God made them. And then it goes right into, and before grass had sprouted, before any vegetation, because rain had not fallen, there was a mist, but there was no rain. It was then that God began to create man. Now, if we go back and look at the previous chapter, when does the grass sprout? Day 3, correct? Before sunlight even was directly shining on the earth, it was already sprouting vegetation. So before that, God began to create man. It was at the very end of day 6 that it doesn't say, and then God made man, and it doesn't stop. It's saying, and God said, let us make man in our image. So that could smack to Cro-Magnomism, that there was an awakening. And then the thing is that God breathed the breath of life into Adam once he was formed. So it was definitely, I mean, you want to say evolution, fine. It's not really, evolution smacks of randomness, but
Right.
But there was something that evolution does not account for, and that's us. That's when evolution stops dead in its tracks. There's nothing natural can account for the human being we know today.
Right.
That we found.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there is, but and Torah would, that's my personal view. Now, a lot of people are probably going to hate it, disagree with it.
Yeah, I would suggest that. I would suggest that the genetic mutations were not random and that they were led by the hand of God. Just think that, or I don't know. I was thinking about Adam as a representative of a new standard for mankind, a new consciousness for mankind. I just thought it was weird that historically the timelines seem to match up pretty much perfectly. Science seems to agree that around 5,500 years ago, these things started to happen out of the blue for the first time. So.
And based on that, I see it a little different. I see as the first Genesis 1 being the creation of the universe. And you know how we talked about there's numerous creation stories, and Genesis 2 being the story of the creation of man.
Sure.
I was just going to say that because there's some commentaries that we bring up all the time, and James kind of digs them, and I kind of like them too. But in Genesis chapter 1, it's sort of because the way it's worded, it's it seems like it was done by itself. Let the earth bring forth plants. How does it go? It's there's certain way it's worded where you can maneuver. Okay, you can kind of it's done by itself, and then there was this time span that came on, and then people came, then man and woman. But then it's sort of when you read Genesis chapter 2, it sort of takes a different narrative. It's time has gone by, and then here's this guy Adam that's saying, "Oh, I have a soul. I believe in a creator. I'm here for a purpose." It's sort of what goes with what you're saying. Here's this man. He's not a man. He's this enlightened being. Something went off, a light bulb. There's something more to it. There's a commentary that says that it could have been thousands of years, whatever was going on, but it's only 5,770 years since Adam. So whatever that means, it could be millions of years, and you had Cro-Magnons going on, and you had Neanderthals, whatever, French people in caves scratching their hairy back, whatever. and then you got the Adam.
Yeah.
I've heard chapter 1 as a reorganization of chaos. You know, when it
Yeah.
talks, I've heard Kabbalistic teachings about it, where it's like a reorganization of chaos.
Yeah. Making order out of chaos.
I'll slightly interject, if I may.
If you please.
You'll never forget that, will you?
Ever, ever.
Yeah, because if you, on one hand, the story of breathing the breath of life into his nostrils, that to me suggests, okay, there's man, there's DNA, there's where we start. This is the starting point from here forward. Because if you look at the story, when Cain was exiled from the Garden of Eden, where did he go?
The land of Nod.
The land of Nod.
North or something. Yeah, sorry.
The land of Nod. I'll be back.
The land of Nod, he knew his wife's there. Some say it was Adam's brothers and sisters, or Adam's children.
But that would mean
It
that,
never says that Adam is the progeny of mankind. We know it was given.
hang on a minute.
Go ahead.
If he was exiled from Eden, which he was, I see where Ross is going, I think. If nothing else, my brain went there. In order for him to be exiled from Eden, where everybody else is, supposedly, how could there be a land of Nod if everybody existed in Eden?
But that wasn't the case. I thought the whole Jewish wisdom was that there were other human beings besides Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were the perfect ones.
Adam and Eve were the first Homo sapien. Adam was the first Homo sapien.
Well, I've never heard that, but that could make sense. But I thought the differentiator for me was choice. And I don't know before Adam and Eve's that human beings had quote unquote agency.
Like free will?
Yes.
I agree.
Lenefesh, Chaya. The nefesh, the higher, there it is, the soul with moral awareness. That was your nefesh is your upper soul that connects you with God, whereas your animal soul.
Exactly. So that was the differentiator between them. Now, I think the thing that's hard for me is reading that, obviously I'm a Christian, is then thinking, how did Adam and Eve's kids mix with beings that didn't have free will and then supposedly create perfection in Jesus?
They got wiped out.
Well, but if they got wiped out, then all that's left are
Noah's children.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
We're the genetic bottleneck.
Realize that side. Okay. Thank you.
I just want to say, wasn't Noah's wife Nama from their side? So it's part of them are still with us too, no?
Or I heard the seed of also heard the seed of the serpent survived through Noah's wife, which would account for the reptilian part of the brain. You know how they can break it down.
Right.
That's just kind of a thing. One thing I wanted to bring up, but I know this is going to probably make people just want to punch the screen. There's in the Zohar, and I think people look at this as something it's not. I don't think they're. I'm not a big guy of it, but I love the story of Lilith. That there was a woman made prior to Eve, but and there's jokes. There's actually jokes that show two toilets facing opposite each other because they were apparently attached at the side. And I know it's very, very figurative, but it was when he was taken from and made into her own being, where face could gaze upon face, and that was what made them human. And in other words, Cro-Magnon man probably didn't really realize much about that This one over here, they did everything side by side, everything together.
Okay, I thought that whole story was teaching the idea that the first beings, whether they were Adam and Eve or not, were asexual. They could.
That could probably maybe.
I don't know. That's what I'd heard, but I could be wrong. Anyone ever?
Adam was gender fluid.
Oh, not asexual. What do you call it?
That could be the Democrats' new.
No. I'm serious for a second. It's not asexual. What do you call it?
What you're looking for is androgynous.
What is it?
Androgynous.
Androgynous.
Where they could have, like, they could reproduce in a single, right?
Right. So
okay.
Mankind was created male and female in one body, and God eventually split them into two halves. That's the idea. Yeah.
But the face gazing on face, the when he could reach out and say, "This is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone," that would be that would be I think likened to maybe the Sinai event, or if you want to go far off, it's like when the world will be at peace when mankind can look back up at its creator, when the image can gaze back at the viewer.
Now, do you have a source for this?
The harmony when God witnesses man, and man is witnessing God. That elation, that spiritual firework, if you will. And to liken that to Adam realizing Eve.
Okay.
And realizing what she was, that thing in his mind, that spark that woke in him.
Idol Smasher, do you have a source for this? Because I've never heard that before. And
no.
Okay.
A source for what?
For what Idol Smasher's talking about.
He talked about a lot of stuff just now.
The Zohar is the part that says that really brings out the difference between having someone who lives and works beside you, juxtaposed to face gazing upon face. The story of man, and God gazing upon each other. I don't have an actual source for that. No.
I can give you a story. If you go to Chabad.org and go to the search for Chava, Chava, there's links to biblical references that he's referencing.
Okay, so Chabad.org is Chabad.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
See, I'm getting better at spelling the okay. And then I go to search for what?
Chava.
Her real name is Chava, which means like life.
Okay, can you spell her name for me, please?
Chava. It's my wife's name.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Here, you guys just brought something up, James, that just hit me for the first time. We were talking about the change that happened in human beings. And then you were talking about Adam realizing Eve. Made me think this question. Did the people who existed pre-Adam and Eve, so we'll say pre-6,000 years ago, were they capable of true love? Or did it even matter to them?
Do dogs love their mates? Do birds love their mates? I mean, they were animalistic. They didn't have a nefesh, so they were animals. They still, there were you couldn't even call them animals because that's just the way all life was, but they didn't have that nefesh. So they were animalistic. If you look at it that way.
That's actually a good question. Go ahead.
Where are we getting these ideas about there being humanity prior to Adam and Hava?
Not necessarily. Okay, you have to be. There's a slight. There were people. It doesn't necessarily mean that this was a man.
Well, no, but that there was population.
It was the Ramban, wasn't it? That figured out 192,000 generations prior to Adam.
Wait, hold on a sec. I thought we just said the reason that we know that there were people prior to Adam and Eve is because when Cain got kicked out of Eden, he went to the land of Nod, and in the land of Nod existed people.
That's
So,
where he knew his wives. Yes.
so
Well, there were
That's-
more people.
what?
I mean, Adam and Eve had other children.
But they did
That's
not
the-
get
You know,
kicked
they don't.
out. They did not get kicked out from Eden.
Adam and Eve did, yeah. Adam and Hava, yeah.
Cain wasn't born yet, but
No,
he was exiled. Yeah.
What?
Cain was actually he was the only one born in the paradise.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and his brother Abel wasn't.
Really?
Well, it depends on which stories you're listening. You know,
Praise my Lord.
But let me ask a
Always.
question. So either you believe that Cain was hooking up with his brothers and sisters, or there were people that existed
There's a
to Adam and Eve.
well, it was hooking up with his sisters. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. not
that's
the
why he
You're right.
that's why he killed his brother, because he had like a how does it go? He had like 2 wives and he only had 1 or something, and then he rose up, quote unquote, rose up against him, whatever that means. He killed him, whatever that means, and he took the wife.
The thing is, you're talking about pre-Diluvian man. You're talking
listen,
about.
listen to what Rabbi wrote. They walk like us, talk like us, but they were not us.
Right.
There's a lot of commentaries that addressed it. The Talmud. So
I would have to know where that's coming from.
Yeah, I had heard that.
Rabbi would know. So can you give us a little bit more information, Gav?
I had heard this before, that there were like
Okay.
farmers and stuff and hunters and gatherers.
I can't read. Can someone else read? I can hardly see.
Yeah, I got you. No problem. A lot of the commentaries, that's the Talmud. The Mishnah in the section Kilium discusses masters of the field that were animals, but also identical to humans, that when they died, one could not tell them apart from a dead human.
There you go. That makes sense to me.
Hey, we're talking about a difference in consciousness.
That's exactly it.
So there could have been people around. Didn't Adam take like other wives, or not other wives, but didn't he?
Okay. What is Menhama? Meshama? Man.
Shama.
Neshama.
Yeah, what is it?
Your neshama is your animalistic soul.
No,
A nefesh.
Your neshama is the
soul.
You're referring to Mishnah?
No, he wrote it in the side chat. If you guys look at the side chat.
Right. I'm looking at this, the Talmud, the Mishnah in the section of Kilium, that's seeds, I think,
at the bottom.
discusses masters of the field.
They liked the neshama.
What
I'd
is
be
the
curious to know
Neshama?
where in Kilium that is. That's
Can someone tell
and
me?
was that what was the thing in Kilium?
Okay,
Was that
Yes.
during the time of Adam and Eve?
Okay, he goes on to write Maimonides in the Guide for the Perplexed, Part 1, Chapter 7, described animals coexisting with Adam that were identical to humans in shape and intelligence. Because they lacked the neshama, they were animals. They did not have part of us, the God's part.
It's the part.
the God's
He's talking about the parts of the Talmud that anti-Semites love to talk about because they don't know how to read the text, so they think they're talking about goyim with no souls. I think we should kind of like divert somewhere else because it's going to get kind of nasty.
But I'm still wondering what neshama is.
It's the godly soul. You have two souls. The mankind. You have a nefesh, which is the animalistic, the one that has to feed itself. You know what I'm saying? That goes to the bathroom.
Right.
Then you have a neshama. You have a connection with God. You have an elevated soul, if you will. They call it the godly soul.
Okay.
And that's the part of you that allows you to know God. Even if you've never heard Torah, you can still know God.
Got it. Thank you.
Kind of a thing. It's the soul that gives you moral awareness. There's the rabbi.
Yeah, it's the thing that makes your conduct.
Okay,
mean
so the
something.
whole thing I was saying was about agency or moral awareness. I love that they named it. Smart people.
Right. And this is why I guess it kind of clicks for me that it was like God snapping his fingers and upgrading the old DNA.
Something.
I want to postulate something. Do you think
Please.
that because, okay, so let's say that some of those people from Nod or who didn't have neshama still persist. Do you think that could be why some people are atheist or agnostic? It's not like a choice for them. They just don't have neshama.
Atheists have neshama. If you're a descendant of Noah, you have a neshama. You have one. You might not be aware of it.
Thing is we all have a spark. And it's up to us to choose to feed the spark or to starve it.
Okay.
They would call the Jews atheists because you go to their temple and there's no God. You know, there's barbecue, but there's no God. where's your gods? You're atheists. They would call, but yeah, even the atheist is made in God's image.
Okay. I forgot about Noah. Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of
Okay,
people
speaking of Noah, though, so all of these things that are human in every aspect but the neshama, at the point of the flood, they all disappear, but we still got crocodile something in Noah's wife.
Oh, there's that's another one of those things that gets you in arguments that there was copulation between Eve and the serpent.
Right. That was clear.
But it's not textual, it's not in the Chumash, it's nothing to really be worried about. It was, from what I understood, that was explained to me as, that's a teaching of the reptilian. They like to say there's a reptilian part of your brain.
Okay.
There's the mammalian part, yada yada yada.
Okay, but because
it's of a spiritual thing.
Right. But because of the flood, we know that everybody has an neshama now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the main reason we think that.
No, the reason why that's just because that's why you only get one genealogy from Adam to Noah, is because that's the only one that mattered. That's the only one that stayed true.
What about the guy that was hanging onto the outside of the ark?
The Nephilim. Remember Moses saw the giant in the land of Canaan? Moses, the spies, saw the giant, and Moses actually fought him and won. As the Nephilim that were walking around the earth prior to the flood. And some say he stood on a mountain or he hung on the side of the ark.
I thought Nephilim was a Christian belief.
They're not giants? Okay. Yeah.
We're talking about Og.
Yeah, Og was a Rephilim. It was the same race as the Nephilim.
Nephilim, yeah.
And they're not giants. That's actually that's a bad word to use.
Yeah, but what are Nephilim?
Fallen angels, people, I thought.
No, that's what Christians believe of. But I don't.
My Rabbi Dove said it plain. He says a lot of people don't like this, but it's one view, and I'm going to bring up that one view, is that there were angels that came down to help man develop, and some of them took wives.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And that is not the teaching, yeah.
No, but when it says sons of God, isn't it talking about in the mighty men? That's the kings of the time.
Yes.
Well, these Nephilim were leaders. The people looked up to them.
Yeah, they were giants. Like Hugh Hefner would be a giant.
No, not a giant in stature, a giant in your personality, right. Because they were leaders. They were giants in their society. It's like a famous person now.
Okay, I just want to know what was different from what James said from what I said. Fallen angels who had mated with humankind.
They weren't fallen.
I'm not saying fallen angels.
That's the Christian view calls them fallen. They are not fallen in there are no fallen angels in Judaism anywhere. They came down to help. God allowed them to help.
Oh, okay. It was the notion of fallen.
But
okay, that's what I wasn't clear about.
Right.
They weren't.
And that
They were allowed to be here, but they got earthy.
and that's why I answered James's question versus yours, because I no longer believe in the fallen angels, because it doesn't say that. But if they
Right.
came down by choice, you could interpret that. But what it was explained to me by the rabbis was that it was the mighty men, like Trump is a mighty man in our society. It doesn't mean he's
Nimrod.
larger than us. He's just got a more of a presence that makes him a mighty man.
Here's another one to throw another cog in the wheel, which goes the other way, is the sons of God were people who were the line of Adam and stayed true, and they took daughters of men. So I don't want to say they bred out the line, but it wasn't a pure line. There's a reason why God makes that real specific to say the sons of God took the daughters of men. Okay, fallen angels aside, or angels aside, you want to look at it in a real dry context. That's Noah was the only one human left, and his family were the only ones that could make it work. It was now or never. If it was worth saving, it had to be then. Everything else was corrupt because you had people mating with animals. And of course, we do have legends of half man, half goat stuff. There are legends that there was massive copulation, that it was aborted fetuses that corrupted the earth, because even the vegetation became corrupt at this point. The evil of man was seen in the earth by God. So
everything had lost its original purpose. Everything had been perverted.
But Adam was worth saving. Adam said the whole of creation is worth it for your sake and the sake of your children. And we are I also want to bring up don't look at Adam as man now, because we're kind of ancestral. We're a little fractured. Whatever was happening with Adam and Eve and the procreation, these were a different breed of people. They were much more, I'm sure, robust. They weren't quite the, we did have a little bit of a genetic bottleneck. We can correct it, though.
That's why I like to look at it as I was bringing up to you, James, a deluge. That's why the flood's a deluge, because it's delusional. But if you build yourself an ark, right, and you go into the ark, you can save yourself from the delusional world. You don't have to be drowned in it.
That's how I look at my family, where it's a bit of an ark. A bit. I can't deny part of me really likes Torah for the survival guide part of it. It's all there. I could take this with me anywhere in the world. I could benefit myself if it were like, we're stuck on a desert island. We could live well, just doing our best.
So this is what Rabbi said about Nephilim are not giants. They're a certain kind of people, judges.
Big shot.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that is.
I see Nimrod. I see a pre-Diluvian Nimrod, a bunch of Nimrods,
I don't know. I've heard that both ways. And they're still digging up huge skeletons out of the ground, so I put it in my file for things I need to know later.
The question that I have, if we are to believe in the sort of the Christian perspective that they were giants, doesn't really flow, because from what we're to believe, all the way up until Moshe, Moshe stood 20 feet tall. So weren't they all quote unquote giants then?
I've never heard.
The bed of Og is like 24 feet long. That's in the Chumash.
It says that the 12 tribes of Israel stood at all the gates of Egypt, all the openings, and they were so huge that they put one arm on one side and the other arm on one side, and the leg, spread out, and they blocked the entrances. No one could get in and out. That's how big they were.
Okay, so I've never heard from the Christian perspective that they were giants. I've never read that. I don't know where that comes from, that Christians think that. I don't know Christians that think that they were giants. But I'm sure on the internet there are Christians that think they are giants. So I just wanted to dispel that.
It could very well be.
But
You
the
know-
fallen angels I had heard. But come to think of it, I don't know if I've ever read that. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
In Genesis, what is it, chapter 9? I've always understood that.
That they were fallen angels?
No, that they were giants.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's in Genesis, and maybe I've studied in different realms. I don't know. But I've always understood it to be giants. I also understand that there are different opinions. And so I guess we just have to kind of pick one until we get better information.
When did where in Torah did Moses fight Og? Because there's a commentary I have here in the stone that says that he was, and he called him a Rephilim, and it said it was the same race, and it used the word race. And I'd like to know. So if anybody knows where I want to flip through here and see where he is. I'll come back to it. Or we could talk. It doesn't, it kind of doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter because they're gone. Our origin and our origin is the line of Noah, and that's comforting.
I think what we're supposed to take from it is that the world is diminishing. The world is getting darker.
Really quick, I looked up Genesis 6:4, and all it says is that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. The sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old and men of renown.
Right, so that goes with what the rabbi was saying about men of renown. They were judges. They were like chieftains, leaders.
But I don't remember seeing giants, and that's why. But now I've been corrected on another aspect, is that they weren't fallen.
Here in Genesis, where am I at? Genesis chapter 6, commentary on verse 4. Verse 4 says,
Where exactly are you? Because it's so much wind going into the microphone.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. Is that better?
Are you like sitting next to a
Yeah,
fan?
he's not talking. He's talking about the noise on all of our computers. It sounds like you're outside, windy or something.
I've got where she's talking about though. Sons of the rulers, which would be sons of what is often translated as sons of God, but it's Elohim. It says this particular, and there's we'll get to it. We'll get, this is from the stone, and we've got other chumashes here, so we see what everybody's commentary says. But the stone here says, sons of rulers, these were sons of the princes and judges. For Elohim always implies rulership, as in Exodus 4:16, and you shall be his master. That's from Rashi. The daughters of men were the daughters of the general populace, the multitude, the lower classes, if you will, who did not have power to resist their superiors. That's from Radak, and the Rambam as well. Thus, the Torah begins the narrative of the tragedy by speaking of the subjugation of the weak by the powerful. According to commentators, sons of God literally are God-fearing descendants of Seth, while the daughters of men, implying less spiritual people, are the iniquitous descendants of Cain. The result of such marriages was that Seth's righteous offspring were enticed by the proponents of a godless, depraved culture and suffered the fate that destroyed mankind. The Nephilim.
So then, sorry.
This is on the Nephilim. These were they were giants, the same race that terrified Moses' spies in Numbers 13:33. They were given this title from the root, to fall, because they fell and caused others to fall. That's from Rashi. Though their egregious sinfulness, from the Gur Areya. Alternatively, they were so close, they were so called because the hearts of those who saw them fell in amazement at their size. That's Ibn Ezra. So maybe they were big, but what's definitely what everybody does agree on is that they were, they're recognized because of their fall.
All right, let me just tell you this for a struggle, and I'm going to go back to Noah and your example. It still sounds like the sons of Cain mixed with other humans, these maybe Nephilim, whatever, okay? They mixed with something that wasn't, I forget the word, Nisham or whatever we called it, right? And the sons of God, and the sons and daughters of Seth stayed, let's just say, true, okay? But what happened is eventually they all started to mix and created Noah and Noah's sons and Noah's sons' wives, okay? I want to touch on for a size for a second. So in them, they had the good parts. Let's face it, like Noah's and his family, whatever, they were the good folks. I'm just wondering if somewhere in there we didn't get some bad folks in there that didn't have the Spirit of God, and generation after generation, at some point, just based on evolution, you have a 1 in 4 odd of putting out a kid that doesn't have that same spirit.
James?
Ma'am?
Page 19 in the Sunsino.
You sound great, by the way.
We turned my fan off. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I had a fan on pointing at me because it's really humid in here. It's okay. On page 19 in the Sunsino, in the commentary for verse 6.
Repented. See chapter 2, verse 2 here.
I'm sorry, chapter 6. Maybe yours is a different print.
No, it's not. I'm
Genesis
reading
6.
Commentary for
verse
4.
6. Well, 4, yeah, you could read 4. It's about the Nephilim. But then if over in 6, it makes a comment about the sons of God. 3rd paragraph down in the commentary. And on the Nephilim, it says, are giants. They existed before the intermarriages took place. The mention of Nephilim in Numbers 13:33 is no reason to assume that they survived the flood. The excited imagination of the spies expresses its terror at the men of great stature whom they saw at Hebron by saying that they must be the old antediluvian giants. But then over here on the commentary in verse 6, it said, the sons of God may, however, also mean those who serve God and obey him, those nourished and brought up in the love of him as their father and benefactor. And then it gives you several references, Exodus 4:22, Deuteronomy 19, is that 19? 14, Deuteronomy 14:1, and 32:5, Isaiah 1 and 2, and Hosea 2:1. It is quite in accord with biblical usage that those who adhered to the true worship of God, the children of Seth, are called sons of God, and that in contrast to these, the daughters of the line of Cain should be spoken of as the daughters of men.
So on the side, it talks about the Gav is talking about the meaning of Elohim. Can we clarify that since we keep talking about it?
B'nai Elohim, by sons of the great. It's poetic Hebrew. Elohim often means mighty, as in a court. You know that.
So sons of the judges?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean Hashem.
It means like the heavenly court of Hashem. Hashem being the ultimate judge, but there's one place where he calls the angels, what is it? I saw it today somewhere where it says that called the 70 angels from the nations together. And that
Right,
was the heavenly court. Also called...
Right, but it's not exclusive to that. Elohim is not exclusive to heavenly court. It's also used for
Mighty.
earthly men.
Yes. Mighty.
Yeah.
Mighty earthly men.
Yeah.
Right.
Gab
So
says,
we don't know in chapter 6, we don't know which Elohim it's referring to.
it doesn't necessarily have anything to, this is Gav over here. Elohim doesn't necessarily have anything to do with God. In some instances, it refers to powerful men or even powerful, or excuse me, foreign deities.
Okay, so if we read it that way, and you said the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of foreign deities or foreign god,
The sons of God, oh, you're talking about
women, so
sons
like
of God is the line of Seth. Think of them as the good guys. We're all children of God. You've heard that.
I know, but you guys are still focused on something that it doesn't say that they're God followers. It says that they're mighty men. There's a difference. You're assuming that they're followers.
The Nephilim are the mighty men.
I'm with Blee on this one. Wait, I can't even read. Blee Glasser. I think what she's saying makes more sense.
Here, let's read the Chumash. Let's get the language correct so we know what we're talking about. Chapter 6, Genesis. And it came to pass when man began to increase upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of the rulers saw that the daughters of men were good and took themselves wives from whoever they choose. And Hashem said, my spirit will not contend evermore concerning man, since he is but flesh, his days shall be numbered 120 years. Verse 4, Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of the rulers would consort with the daughters of men who would bear them. They were the mighty ones. They were the mighty who from old were men of devastation.
Right. So that's not saying God followers, that's saying rulers instead of Elohim.
In the Sunsino translation that I keep quoting is Sephardic. And I like the English translation it gives. To me, it's clear. It says, verse 4, the Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, that they bore children to them, and the same were the mighty men that were of old, the men of renown.
Right, but that translation is assuming that Elohim means God in this instance, and it doesn't necessarily mean God. It's the translation.
No. It says, in the commentary, it says, others render B'nai Elohim by sons of the great, which is a poetic form of Hebrew. It often means mighty. So what it's talking about, I think, if I'm understanding what the commentary is saying, is intermarriage between those who are faithful to God and those who aren't.
That's the way I saw it. And the fact that the genealogy, the direct line of Seth, there's no intermingling from Adam to Noah.
And the Torah only gives the genealogy for the descendants of the ones who are faithful to God. You know, the family line.
Enoch, he was so righteous, God took him. You know, these were not like us. It wasn't the same sky. You're probably not seeing the same plants. It was a whole different earth. Man was a quite powerful being at that time, I think. It would seem to be, if he could corrupt the earth like that.
But what it's saying there is the sons of God were descendants of Seth, and they were intermarrying with the daughters of Cain. So we have the obedient and faithful to God, and the not obedient and faithful to God.
But that's incorrect because Cain is the greatest example of a Baal Shuva. Cain is the great.
Maybe later on, but not in Genesis chapter 6.
But how do you know when he was doing the Shuva? Were you there?
I don't know. All I know is it's just a Sephardic. So
No, I think it's not Cain. It's the descendants of Cain that were corrupted. Cain himself was he was the first lesson of repentance in the Bible.
maybe he was. But it says the daughters.
But his sons got corrupt, apparently.
The daughters of men, and men evidently at that time were not considered part of God's people. Because
then he's not so righteous. If he's not so righteous, if he has sons that are wicked, then he has no merit, because your children give a father and parent, mother and father, the parents merit.
Well, maybe not all of his children were wicked.
Yeah, Noah's wife was a Canaanite, I thought, or had Canaanite blood. Okay.
But either way, it just says generically they were intermarrying with the daughters of men. And
But if there's anyone that should be called the son of God, would be Cain. Cain would be the son of God.
He got stricken after he killed Abel.
Okay, what's the rabbis saying we're getting it wrong?
What?
If everybody will mute, we might get Gav to unmute.
Right? He says you can be perfectly righteous and have evil children.
Well, your children do have a choice, right?
Right.
Do we think that Cain's
that.
children were evil? I'm not aware of that.
I was under the impression that the sons of Cain were likened to the fallen, that they created depravity in the cities.
According to the Sonsino I just read, the daughters of men were descendants of Cain.
If you read in one of the commentaries in the Stone Edition, it says that Cain went on to build cities and and they married his name. He had children, and they went on to be righteous. That the city built cities named after his children, his grandchildren, his great grandchildren. They built.
Does that mean all of them would have been?
It's saying that they have their line, that his children, his grandchildren, his great grandchildren. There's merit there. They're naming cities after him. They're bringing godliness to the world. I don't understand.
So what does the commentary say in the Stones?
It's one of the commentaries. I don't have a stone on me, so I can't read it.
Larry, where's our stones?
Oh, we got a Gutnick. I got a stone.
Let's look it up in all of them.
Rosie's got a Rosie or Rosie now. Rosalie's got a Gutnick, or has the Gutnick. I got a Gutnick.
I've got Perque de Rabbi Eliezer. I wonder if he's got anything in it.
Yeah, it's exactly what I read. They were sons of rulers. They were in this. The commentary favors descendants of Cain. God-fearing descendants of Seth, while the daughters of man, implying less spiritual people, are the iniquitous descendants of Cain. And the thing is, Noah doesn't survive through Cain. Noah survives through Seth.
Yeah, but Noah's wife Nama was a Cain,
or had Canaan blood in her, something like that. So yeah,
we don't know who Noah's mother is either.
That's true.
Do we know who Noah's mother is?
I don't know.
Okay, this is like.
That's what you're getting at. I know I was about to call on you, Ermine. So some of that did.
I was trying to make this past like 45 minutes. Yeah.
Put 10 Noah hides in the Google Plus room, or 9 Noah hides in a rabbi.
And then we got Ross. Ross is
another thought, just to tie this into what we were talking about earlier, how if you had a nefesh, you were what we are, and if you didn't, then you were, just not with the nefesh. What if that's what it's saying, that the sons of Elohim, the sons with the nefesh, saw the daughters without the nefesh, saw that they were good, and took them wives? And then you start getting that mixture.
Shix is ruined it every time.
Exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
We came to it. We got there.
You're on to something.
Is ruined it every. Yes.
This is what makes us dig deep.
I'll just try and be more articulate or something. I don't know.
This is why he hates this. Gav says this is why I hate it when these conversations go down a rabbit hole chasing after minute. I don't know. Minutia. Sorry.
Gav, is that last theory even close?
Well, I mean, we're reading out of the, you know.
I have no. To be honest with you, it's fine. You can agree, disagree, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I think Cain is getting a bad rap. That's all. I had to just speak out for him. Anyway, his merits speak for themselves. I don't want to be a lawyer or anything.
Thank you.
He was our first lesson of teshuvah. That's the ultimate teshuvah. So like the tree is theft. There's your repentance, right there. Okay, let's just get like let's try this. Let's try this. Also, a first murderer. Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. He lied in wait, didn't he? So.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. That first definition of murder. And then teshuvah, but you'd have to do some serious teshuvah. You know, he didn't know what he was doing. See, I've heard that the reason why God didn't just kill him, but exiled him from the company of man, was because he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know that he would kill. That you know, and that when it happened, he realized what he did, and you know, of course, repented then, but at the time he didn't know that he would kill him or something along those lines. Like, and that's why God protected him and said, you know, nobody's going to touch him. He's my man, kind of a thing, you know. Because, you know, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know that he would kill him. I've looked this up too. It's slain. It's rose up and killed him. Rose up and slew him. There's just different ways of looking at it. We always picture a rock. They like to put that narrative, don't they, on billboards and on memes and stuff that, you know, using a gun. Well, Abel used or Cain used a rock on Abel. It's like, where is that? Where it doesn't say that at all. Killing isn't something you ever come back from. Even if you feel remorseful as any normal person would, you'll never be the same afterwards. Hi.
Yeah, we could have left that one out.
It's Memorial Day weekend. So that's why we're supposed to end war. I had a fella come up and he was a good guy. He's a good fella. And he's you know, he's seeing the end of the earth. And I was like, well, look, Bible tells us we're going to get it right eventually. You know, that there's not going to be war, that we're going to, you know, we're going to find one law in God. And he says, but that's not what the Bible says. And he was, and I guess he was talking about, I don't know what he was, you know, Revelation or whatever, but.
Yeah, I don't know that the Bible says we ever get it right.
Well, our swords will be beaten into plowshares. In other words, what's used for war will be used for energy. They will know war no more. They will look to Zion. The knowledge of God will cover the earth like the water covers the seabed. You know, that the world will know God, and we will be better off for it. Some say that it's going to take the arrival, you know, and we're going to have to get to a breaking point. Some people say that we're going to naturally come to it. Great tribulation will follow it, or will precede it. But we do get that. You know, it'll be death and taxes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's going to be a while before we get back to Eden, but we will definitely be repairing the earth.
I thought the Great Tribulation happens prior to that.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Yeah, Ezekiel. but we get it right. The dry bones, Ezekiel's dry bones, you know, we have been deceived. You'll have kings carrying, caring for old, rabbis and Jewish people and God-fearers will be hand in hand. They'll have their children on their shoulders coming to God. You know, their mouths will be agape and their hand will cover it because they're just in awe, and the world will finally come together. It's going to happen. It's happening now. Baruch Hashem. People talk about the good, but no, the horrible stuff immediately before. Well, you gotta keep the light on. You gotta fan the flame so you know where you're going.
That's what you call the birth pangs of Messiah.
Oh, a graveyard that takes 7 years. Was it 7 years to bury the dead from the war that's about to come? It takes them 7 years.
Are you serious?
I believe that's true.
Gog and Magog, the great.
It's in the book of Ezekiel. Yes.
Yeah, Ezekiel 38 and 39.
Hi, caramba.
Try this. Just for a moment, think of swords as the tongue in your mouth. And think that you're going to beat that sword into a plowshare. You're going to forcibly focus on stop being divisive, hateful, argumentative, and then turn around and say, let's plow this together. Let's see if we can't plant the seeds of peace and hope so that we might reap the harvest of peace and hope.
I'm gonna qualify that with Esau's power is the sword. Israel's power is the word. There will come a time when the word will overcome the sword.
Amen.
I think that's a good note. What do you say? Shall we put this in the can?
Works for me.
Anybody have any announcements, any promotions? I'll start off with my own. JamesTheIdolSmasher@gmail.com is the email to Google if you want to get a hold of me and get on the Google Plus invite list. Every week we do this Thursday. Also, go to the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page. You can join up there, and if you're nice, we'll invite you every week right here on Google Plus. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
I have a Vatar.
Say that one more time.
I have a Vatar. I have a little Torah thought.
Think.
All right. Thank you. This is to do with the holiday of the Pasha. Here we go. Let's see. Let me open the window. I have it here. The Torah was given on Mount Sinai. Next week we celebrate the holiday of Shavuot, which commemorates the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. Why would the Holy Torah, the bedrock of civilization, the source of all ethical teaching, be given on such a small, unknown desert mountain? Why would it not be chosen more appropriately on the tallest, most prominent mountain? Our sages teach that God chose Mount Sinai in order to convey the important message of humility. If the Torah was given on a small, humble mountain, surely its recipients should strive to act with humility. But one might wonder, if Mount Sinai was chosen to emphasize humility, why use a mountain at all? Perhaps some flat land or a valley would better convey a message of humility. One answer is that while humility is a desirable trait, being a doormat can be just as unhealthy or unholy as being egotistical. It's vital to create harmonious balance between humility, self-esteem, and pride in one's roots. While we need to strive for humility, we must also focus on being a proud people. History has unfortunately taught us all too often that being too humble can cost us our lives. Moreover, we need pride not only as a survival tool, but more importantly to help us proudly and unabashedly share for the rest of the world the potent and timeless message that we Jews received at Sinai. And thank you.
Thank you. Amen.
John, on page 29 of the Gutnick, the Torah Menachem has Cain the very first Baal Teshuvah. So you were correct. There's an article there if you want to read that tonight to make you happy.
Why don't you close us out with that? That sounds like something to close us out with. Good old Canaan.
Okay. Cain was the first person to do teshuvah, return, repentance. Thus, God sent him as an example for all future Baalei teshuvah, penitence, and Bereshit Rabbah 22, 12-13, Midrash Tehillim 100. Case teshuvah consisted of 3 practical phases. A. Confession. Cain declared to God, "My sin is too great to bear." The Torah then states that Cain left God's presence, on which the Midrash comments that Cain was rejoicing that his confession had been accepted by God. B. Exile. Rambam writes that one of the routes of teshuvah is for a person to send himself into exile, for this generates a spirit of humility within a person. And it says something else. Thus we find that Cain dwelt in the land of the wanderers. C. Rebound into positive action. There's a tremendous temptation for the Baal Teshuvah to remain low-spirited for the rest of his days. The mere thought of his past deeds, which cannot be erased from his mind, is sufficient to give him feelings of inferiority. Obviously, in the midst of such mood, he will find it difficult to be active within the world, being plagued by the eternal question, who am I to carry out a holy activity like this? Consequently, the challenge of the Baal Teshuvah is that when his Teshuvah is complete, he must propel himself outwards into the world, self of his feelings of inferiority, and start to contribute constructively to the world in the most expansive manner possible. Thus we find that after doing teshuvah, Cain propelled himself back into the world. A, he fathered a son. B, he built a city, an ambitious project aimed at repairing the world that he had damaged. And furthermore, C, he named the city after his son's name, Cainach, i.e., not only did he free himself from the feelings of inferiority, he actually went to the opposite extreme and publicized his achievements boldly to the entire world. And sorry, I'm in really dim low light, so I couldn't really see that all that well. So that's what that says, John.
You did good. Amen.
On behalf of everybody who was tonight, and for all who stopped by, Brookie, Bob, Frank, Ermine, Yochanan, Pam, Ross, Rosalie, and Pops, Rabbi Gabrielle. Shalom, y'all.
Shalom.
All right.